Welcome to Inside Startup Investing, the only podcast where you can invest in every guest. On this episode, I will be speaking with co-founders of Meat & Bone, Gabriel Llaurado and Luis Mata. Meat & Bone is a retailer and direct-to-consumer provider of high-end quality proteins, including meat, fishes, and more. While it may not sound like a groundbreaking innovation, this team has actually tapped into a market gap that's really interesting. A few things that stuck out to me in this episode are, first, the results don't lie. The team's already grown to over $10 million in annual revenues, and they are doing so because there is, in fact, a gap in the market for a solution just like theirs. You see, you may have heard of at-home meat delivery services like Omaha Steaks that have been around for decades, which, by the way, sell hundreds of millions of dollars in steaks every year. But they're actually a pretty standard meat provider that doesn't supply a variety of meats. For those serious at-home chefs, having access to things like 30 different types of ribeyes and Wagyu beefs is music to our ears. They are winning over customers in droves with this deep variety offering. The second thing I love is that they are taking an omnichannel approach and not banking their business on a subscription box. It turns out the direct-to-consumer online food brands have struggled from a profitability standpoint for years, like Blue Apron and HelloFresh. Blue Apron actually became a penny stock and proved the subscription meal box maybe isn't as attractive as first thought. Enter Meat & Bone, which allows you to buy these high-quality proteins when you need them. Even without a subscription, their repeat customers are super high. And by utilizing actual physical stores as well, they are building a brand that people can physically interact with, lowering customer acquisition costs and creating a unique way of lowering shipping costs with a bit of a hub-and-spoke distribution model. Lastly, these guys are passionate, and you could feel that passion bleeding into their brand. Whether it's sponsoring a NASCAR driver, creating unique marketing campaigns, or even donning their company logo wherever they go. These guys love what they do and know the key to winning in this category is, yes, a great product, but more importantly, a notable brand that resonates with their consumer. I like where this one is headed, and I am a customer myself. So with that, let's get on to the show and welcome Gabriel and Luis. Let's start with a little bit of background on both of you, kind of, where you come from and how you got here.
So I've been living in Miami for 25 years, originally Venezuelan. I moved to the US in the 2000s when socialism took over the country, let's call it that way. Went to school here. Basically, I feel like I was born in Miami. My background's finance. I work corporate finance for the past, 15, 20 years. I feel old now. Started with UPS, then Ryder Systems, then I did a stint in luxury goods working for Chanel and Bell & Ross, and then from there I went to education. I spent the last 8-9 years of my career working in education, for-profit schools, CFO, M&A, strategy, all of that. And Gabe?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. Also Venezuelan background, went to school here, worked in media. I'm an engineer, so lots of different places. But yes, ultimately, I guess we got united by eating good food.
Eating good food, that's a good place to start. So let's talk about Meat & Bone. What is it, and how is it different from what's out there today?
Well, I think we got to start with the options that pretty much everybody is getting right now, which is mostly supermarkets, right? There's not a lot of specialized locations where people can get any feedback, to be honest, or options available. So Meat & Bone was born out of the need of that. So we are an omni-channel retailer of premium quality meats. But we say premium because we like to do the homework to make sure that whatever you get is actually best in class. So it's going to be the best $10 ribeye all the way to the best $250 ribeye. And in a way, we sort of compete against supermarkets. Don't get me wrong, everybody's looking for proteins. But in a different way, we build the company on 3 pillars. The first one is education. We want customers to understand exactly what they're buying, why it's priced that way, and precisely even how they're going to cook it, what the experience is going to be. It's completely different. You shouldn't be treating a really good USDA prime steak, ribeye, the same way that you would treat a Japanese Wagyu A5. Not just because of the pricing and the difference, but just the experience overall. There's gonna be a different cooking experience and even the tasting experience. One is not better than the other one. At the end of the day, it's your choice. And then the second pillar would be convenience. we made it so that we have our stores where you can still come in and buy any of the products that we offer online for shipping and get the same level of education that you will get as far as the product description goes, and our blog and our website. And then the third one is actually the product lineup. We have a very unique product lineup where if you are a customer of Meat and Bone or looking to buy from Meat and Bone, you can get African tiger prawns, dry aged ribeyes, maybe even some venison bison in one dinner.
So I would say, to make it super simple, we are a specialty goods store that's omnichannel, where you're gonna find the best stuff out there. Like literally, there's no better. The way we source is by asking questions, educating ourselves, and then we transfer that to the end consumer. And that's it. I mean, it's not price driven, it's value driven. So when I go and I get he mentioned the $10 ribeye, which is our entrecote. We sell 800 of those a week. And I guarantee you would not find a steak like that in most steakhouses, just how tender it is. And that's kind of what we do. We just go for the best stuff because it's really hard to find and it's really difficult to do the homework.
Let's talk about, when did you start this business? You guys have made a ton of progress. I mean, over 10 million in sales last year from what I can see. How have you gotten there? And if we could talk about the split between kind of in-store sales versus e-commerce, what does that look like?
So that's a great question. So the first part, how we started, we were both in cushy corporate jobs, which we liked. And we started this as a side hustle because we like to cook. And honestly, food...
I like to eat.
Yeah, food brings people together.
I like to eat too.
And you know what? What we did was we would get together in weekends and have a bunch of friends over and cook and share stories and talk about what's going on with life. And that eventually morphed into Meat and Bone, which is why one of our taglines is sort of like good food, good friends, good times. One of the most common questions we have is, why do you have stores? Why are you not doing online only like so many others? And there's actually a couple that have recently crowdfunded. And the answer is, it doesn't really work. For two reasons. First, nobody feels as comfortable buying meat online without being able to see it, see the space, know that these guys are for real. You're not somebody selling meat out of your garage. Mm-hmm. And believe me, there's quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And the other part that's important is that as a business, it has to work. Customer acquisition costs online are extremely high. The most popular subscription box out there today is spending over $200 to acquire one new customer. Their churn and their retention are not great. So the omnichannel model allows us to keep our customer acquisition costs really low. I'm talking $16 blended, $35 online only. Mm-hmm. If we see things are going out of control, we never go past the $35, $50 number, because our margins are going to the actual quality of a product. Yeah. Which means when people try our stuff, they're like, damn, wow, this is amazing. Where did this come from? Why is it so good? It's because we're spending most of the ticket on a quality product, not on marketing. And that's allowed us to keep 65% of our customers coming back. So most of our revenue is coming from the same guys over and over.
Happy customers.
Yeah, over the past 7 years, we've made like $35 million. Yeah. I would say about 25 are from recurring customers. And
that's awesome.
This year we're getting to about $12.5 million. And again, it's at 65% retention. That's the key. Once customers try us, they keep coming back.
Yeah, and
well,
even
to be clear, so this is not a subscription box. This is
exactly,
you're purchasing meat online when you want to buy it.
We are a la carte.
Yes.
Do we offer a subscription offer? Yes. Yet less than 1% of our customers subscribe. Why would you? If I can go online once a week and pick what I want and have it delivered to my door within a day, or even the same day if we have a boutique in your area, why would you subscribe to a box that's going to come God knows when in the mail with a bunch of stuff that I probably didn't want or order, that's going to sit in my freezer, that's been frozen forever, when I can have a steak that was either fresh or frozen today in my home?
Yep.
I'll cook it, I eat it, and then I'll order again.
I love it. Now, when I look at your store locations, it seems like you're fairly Florida-centric. What are thoughts on expansion into other states? What would a rollout plan look like there?
That's why we're
crowdfunding.
That's why we're crowdfunding, and to be frank, we're going to go beyond crowdfunding. That's the next step. We're sort of doing the baby steps. We started with, we bootstrapped the business. We started the business with $11,000. We grew for 5 years. We got to the point where we're like, okay, we need money, so we took out debt. of course, personal guarantees and all of that, which is, it gets scary as a founder.
Yeah, that's a
and
big
then
deal.
we go, let's crowdfund. Now, the next step after crowdfunding, we'll probably go, oh, you know what? Let's talk to private equity. Let's talk to VCs.
Yeah.
Let's see where we take this next. But we have a very defined 5-year plan. The plan is really agnostic to capital. So what we wanted was to make sure that our model worked. So we opened one store. We opened the second one. We opened a third one in a location that was far enough where we couldn't babysit it. Then we said, let's go online only for a year. And that's when we learned a lot of these lessons. And when we were talking, we know our peers. We were talking to all the other companies. Hey, how are you guys doing? And we see everybody has the same struggles. Yet, we're the only ones who have stores. So they're curious. So now we've decided omnichannel is the way to go. So we've expanded quickly. We closed 2023 with 3 boutiques. We're about to close 2024, which I can't believe is just like 2 weeks away or a month away, with 8 and 2 steakhouses. So the plan is to continue doing that. We operate like an airport, like an airline. We open a hub. So for example, our hub right now is Miami. From Miami, we can service all of Florida. Then we're going to open a hub in Atlanta, and then we're going to service all of Georgia. And that's how we grow. So we have a pretty defined growth plan. Each one of our hubs, the cost to open it is about $200,000, and then we open satellite stores. The satellite stores are corporate owned, of course, no franchising, none of that, because we want to make sure the quality is there. The cost to open one up is $50,000. And so far, on average, they're doing almost $1 million each. The biggest one is doing $2.5 million. As soon as we open, we already have the technology integrated where, for example, in our website, if you're in New York, you get a different website than if you're in Miami. In Miami, it's all about, hey, order now, you get your delivery in 2 hours. If you're in New York, it's like, order now, we'll ship, your order be at your door in 48 hours. It's insured, it's going to get there safely.
Yep.
So as soon as we open in Nashville, we'll be able to do deliveries in Nashville right away, thanks to our technology integration, and have a custom website for the zip codes in Nashville.
It's not that we're building a fleet of deliveries. We would have the integrations ready so that we can get deliveries every day on the location that we're opening.
I love that. But one of the other things I was curious about, because you're saying this omni-channel really works. So when you look at your sales, national versus in Florida where you are now, how do those numbers kind of split out?
It's actually kind of crazy. 50% of our sales are out of state. It's Texas, California, Georgia, New York, New Jersey, but we ship to Puerto Rico, we ship to Hawaii. We're actually working on
Alaska.
shipping to Canada. 72% of the total sales come from the website.
Yeah.
But that other 50%, it really fluctuates. Customers will come into the boutique, and then the next day they'll order for delivery. So, yeah, I mean, half of the business is out of state.
Yep.
The other half is between delivery and retail. Only 28% of our sales are actually walk-in customers. But the beautiful thing is walk-in customers don't have shipping expenses, and they also don't have delivery expenses. So, and the experience, honestly, the experience at the store is awesome. Like on our boutiques, when you walk in, it's like buying a watch. You have a counter, you don't see meat. It's a one-on-one experience. You walk in and say, hey, you know what? I feel like cooking a ribeye. The guy is going to explain to you that we carry 35 different ribeyes. And he's going to hone in on exactly what you need, not what you want, what you need, and then give you options. So it's funny because you'll have a guy who walks in and he's just coming for I have a customer, Mexican customer. I'll never forget him because he's been buying from us for 6 years. And he walks in, oh, I'm looking for a ribeye to make like little tacos. I just need a cheap ribeye. So I showed him the $10 ribeye, and I'm like, dude, go with this. You'll never forget it. And he grabs it, and then he says, what else you got? And we're like, well, we do this whole thing where we show all the grades. So we have the entrecote, the choice, prime, Wagyu, Angus, domestic Wagyu, Australian Wagyu, Japanese Wagyu. And he's like, oh, wow, give me one of each. So he takes one of each. And since then, he's been coming back to try everything. So when you think about it, it's 400 products. Yeah. It just becomes a whole, you just open the culinary world to somebody who's used to going to their local grocery store and having 4 different steaks to play with.
You know, thinking about kind of competitors that are out there, the only other focused on meat, you know, that'll send meat to your home type of thing is Omaha Steaks. It's the only one that I could think of that's been around forever. When you think about your differentiators to them, I feel like I kind of know what they are, but if you could talk to that a little bit.
Well, the first part would be variety. We're not just steaks, right? Meat is all proteins. So we're talking seafood, we're talking fish, game, poultry. We just launched an amazing poultry program. We have sausages, we have pork, Iberico pork, So that's a big part of it. So we are very about the end customer cooking, you being the chef at home, giving you the tools to play the role of Thomas Keller in your kitchen. Omaha is more about, hey, I'm selling you something that's halfway pre-cooked, or it comes in a box, it's easy, it's a simplicity. So to us, because cooks are looking for quality, it is always about giving you the highest possible quality. And then of course that omnichannel model, very customer service centric, very new. I mean, listen, I have a lot of respect for Omaha. They were the first movers. They're doing probably close to $1 billion in sales, which is insane. So we've learned a lot from what they do, and we think we can do it better. But one thing that's key, Omaha built a spectacular brand. You talk to anyone, they know who Omaha Steaks is. We found that nobody else did that. I mean, think about it, steak brands, you probably can name 5 off the top of your head, or 3. If we were to talk about any other consumer product, you would probably mention 20 of them, like energy drinks. So Meat and Bone is a brand. All of our steaks are branded Meat and Bone, or sauces, or rubs, or carpaccios, or seafood. Everything comes with our brand. So more than a marketplace, we are building a brand, and that we believe is extremely powerful.
Well, you've taken a unique strategy with that, recently sponsoring a NASCAR team, which is a big deal. That's not a light undertaking. Talk to us about kind of the strategy behind that and why you felt that would be a good fit for growing the brand and the business.
So to be frank, the opportunities and the financials worked because the network was there. So it's not like we went out and say, oh, let's talk to NASCAR teams and see who we sponsor. It just kind of happened. I mean, when you bootstrap, it's funny because why do you have a steakhouse? Honestly, the steakhouse next door, the restaurant next door went out of business. It was the middle of COVID. We got it for pennies on the dollar, and it was an amazing business. It became our piggy bank. So that's sort of how we hustle the business a little bit. But the big play behind it is the brand building, right? At this point, the brand is sexy. I mean, I love my hat. I wear it everywhere. The products are sexy. It's the customers just dig it. We have so many cool catchphrases and things we're building around. So to us, it's about exposing that brand. So even beyond NASCAR, we take a lot of opportunities to participate in Formula One, music festivals. We do Welcome to Rockville in Daytona. We do Country Music Fest. We do Ultra Music Festival. And we just look for brand exposition. Now, what we look for is deals where we're not necessarily paying a lot for marketing. We actually get the opportunity to earn money. So we turn into a vendor, and we're cooking ribeyes and burgers and selling them to consumers. So then we put a huge sign in the back that says Meat and Bone, and people, oh, what's that? And you hand them flyers, you show them things. But the big goal is brand building. It's getting the world to know about Meat and Bone and that they can eat better food. They can shop like a chef. Like it's funny. I started becoming the story when I was working for Llaurado Education. I got to work with a chef, Chris Katke, and he was a big inspiration. And he probably doesn't even know this at this point, but we talked a lot, and I learned a lot about the culinary world and about chefs' worlds and all of this, and I learned about purveyors. And I'm like, oh, so how did you source? And well, these guys will come in and they'll show you a lot of proteins that most people don't even know exist or they're available. And I'm like, wow, that'd be cool for an end consumer. And that's where Meat and Bone is coming from. It's giving end consumers choices they didn't even know they have.
In terms of your core consumer, obviously it's that chef at home who loves cooking. One of the reasons I was attracted to Meat and Bone myself is because I love cooking. That's something I enjoy doing. Is there a core persona of an individual, or is it more about just their love of cooking at home that is the driver? Or is there a certain age category, so on and so forth?
It's the love of food.
Yeah.
Because the most beautiful thing that you learn is like you need to be a great chef if you're gonna grab crappy ingredients and turn them into a great dish. It really takes skill, and some of the best chefs that I know, that's what they do. They love grabbing like an
apple and a turkey and turn it into like freaking...
Or cook an osso buco and cook it for 15 hours and then turn it into a ravioli so it's spectacular. But when you start with something that's just great, it's easy. So, or steakhouse, it's actually proof of concept. All we literally do is we open the packages from Meat and Bone and we toss them in a cast iron or the grill. We add salt.
It's the same stuff.
That's it. We don't do anything else.
Yeah.
And that's what great ingredients do.
So as you think about growing the business, what are some of the key things you're going to be doing? Let's talk the next kind of 12 to 18 months. What's on the roadmap?
So right now we are opening the new boutiques. We're opening Hallandale Beach, and Hallandale Beach it has a steakhouse inside of it. So we're very excited about that. We're opening Orlando, so those stores are coming into the maturity. So we're making sure that all the protocols, all the staff, all the training, all the logistics, everything's working. So now, because we just went from 3 stores to almost 10 different operations. Now we do it more. We're going to open a second store in Tampa, a second store in Orlando, and then we're going to start going out of state. Yeah. So we've actually identified the next 142 markets, and that's just Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. Yeah. 142 markets that would be a great fit for Miramon as a brand. Outside of that, something that I haven't talked about, we onboarded a chef. He's got 7 Michelin stars, culinary trained in France. Guys, it's a master. His name is Chucho Rojas. So he's been developing a whole series of sauces and rubs and salts and seasonings of the same quality of our steaks, because we found, for example, I knew this, but seasonings and rubs is a $30 billion market in the US. Most of the big brands, it's somebody who doesn't really have a culinary brand or background, who's at home started mixing spices. But I don't even know, right, the quality. Chucho's been doing this for 25 years, just because he had to. So he's developing all of his products for us. So we're stepping more into the CPG space. So we just launched 6 different drops, 6 different finishing salts, and 3 different sauces. So right now we're producing over 50 products that are only exclusive to Meat and Bone. So now we service our own stores. So the future, CPG, all these products, new products in our stores, growing our network, right? Adding any additional boutiques and continuing to grow, and then continue to ship to the states where we're not at. That's it, it's simple. What I would tell most people like on our campaign is like, we're not racing to do this. We've already done it. We're racing because we're so crazy that we've already done it, that we need to finance it at better rates than what we currently have.
Yeah. We're at a point where we're too small to be big and too big to be small. So it's weird. Like, banks don't look at us like a mature company yet. And private equity is like, it can be a different conversation, especially because we are in a CPG food space where you don't get a lot of brands.
Yeah, we've sat down with a lot of private equity groups, and the conversation is funny because it's like, well, call me when you get to $20 million.
Yeah.
Call me when you get to $50 million.
And
that's when we can get big, and we're like, well, we're at 10, we're at 12.
We're not that far.
Where are you going to be next year? We're going to be at 18. Call me. That's when we need to have a conversation about next steps.
Exactly.
So
the interest
we're getting there.
Yeah.
I love it. In terms of sourcing strategy for the meats, as you scale, can your suppliers kind of meet the demands as you continue to grow? Are there going to eventually be challenges in terms of sourcing this really high-end quality meat? Or is there plenty of room to run in terms of your sourcing strategy?
So the way we build a business, we spent 2 years working on the sourcing. And because it was a hobby, it was really easy. And because my prior job was to find small businesses and then make sure that we're scalable, that's the first thing we had in mind. So we sat down and developed a 5-year plan back then, which, funny enough, we actually followed almost to the T. Like, it's impressive how disciplined we were. We identify common traits in programs, and then we join them together. So, for example, we will go to farms and say, hey, you know what? We want to make sure that the animal ethical standards are as follows. We want to make sure that they're fed these types of grains, that you have nutritionists in-house, that you're using depends on the breed, but we just identify programs, and then we consolidate in one space. So that means we can source from different brands.
Yeah.
So we actually, for example, today, we do source from some of the most premium brands in the US, and we don't use their names. In fact, that's a recurring theme. Like, why? Why are you guys not taking advantage of our brand? Unless we don't need to. We're building our own brand. So also that helps us. If I see one of them drop their quality, I'll switch to another one. So these are programs that they're large. Some of them are small. It really depends. I think the best example would be Ora King. This is our salmon. It's considered the best salmon in the world. It's super disruptive because it's actually farmed in New Zealand. This is what Thomas Keller uses at home. This is what most Michelin star chefs use in Europe. Yet nobody knows about it. Can they scale? Yeah, they can scale 100 times what we sell. but nobody knows about it. Nobody sells it. The infrastructure is complicated. The logistics are complicated. Or grass-fed programs. We identified farms that only do grass-fed,
100%.
but not grass-fed the way, because people think, oh, grass-fed means they're roaming freely. No, they're not. Most times they're stuck in a barn and they just put a bunch of grass in there so you can, or they put grass pellets. We actually make sure these are programs where the cows roam free, that they're truly grass-fed and grass-finished. So we just start putting them together. And typically, if one farm is doing it, say in Minnesota or in anywhere, right, or in Iowa, there's farms around that will do it. Or if it gets to the point where they can't supply us, we can plan ahead and make sure the guys next door start doing it for us. And one key component from us is because we are willing to pay the cost. We are willing to pay what top products deserve. So we don't go in trying to get the best price possible. We go in trying to get the best quality possible. And if you talk to any of our suppliers, they'll tell you, the conversation goes like this: I need you to make plenty of money. I need you to be happy. I need you to be wanting to give me the best of the best and making sure that I'm happy because then my customers are happy. And then we're all happy. So we don't do business in like, oh, I'm going to screw you over pricing, which is like how a lot of this business is done. We're doing it differently.
No, the truth is you can't treat quality, right? Like price and quality is something that, especially on something like a protein, where you have to understand that the animal needs to be fed and it has to go through the proper procedures to raise, right? And if you're tricking the price and you're thinking that you're getting a deal and it's too good to be true, it might not be. And that's essentially where some of these brands or competitors that we have are going for.
See, to give you an idea, and we could talk about this for hours, so, so please stop me if I go too long, but one of the largest conglomerates of beef and proteins in the world invested in Wild Forks. They're a massive company. And of course, they branded it differently so people don't know it's JBS, blah, blah, blah. They're doing a great job. And they don't know when their beef got frozen. They don't know how long it's been sitting there. The customer service is I mean, if you're going after the cheapest price possible, something's got to give.
Yeah.
And it's the same case.
It makes sense.
When you buy at Costco, it's going to be blade tenderized. It's going to come in a massive tray and you're going to get back home, or you either eat it all or you're going to have to repack it. Well, every single thing adds a cost.
No, absolutely.
Whether it's labor, packaging, whatever it is.
Yeah, the thing is that the internet has made consumers more powerful. So now they have a choice. And ultimately, that choice is going to lead them into the proper vendor and the proper provider that's going to give them what they want.
Well, and actually, the internet has also made it more complicated to be different. So everybody wants to compete based on price.
Yeah.
So I'll send you a coupon. Oh, I'm going to save 10% here, 20% here. That's not what it's about. When you're going for quality, you want actual
product.
That exactly. So what we do is we go out of our way to educate the consumer. So when you go on our website, every product has videos, has information, has as much as we can share to replicate the in-store experience.
I want to give you guys the last word here. For investors who are on the line, what's your kind of final pitch to them?
Well, the first thing I would say is, like, before I did this, and we're coming up in our 40s, right? So we spend some time playing with other people's monies, and we did well. This is a business that's working. We took 7 years to do our first raise, and we're taking it to the next level. Have we done everything perfectly? No, but we have a clear path, and we're gonna get it done, whether it's via crowdfunding, PE, loans, it doesn't matter. We have a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and we're gonna get there. What we liked about the crowdfunding is twofold. One, it's a great customer acquisition, right? I mean, these guys are, and we wanna hear from our investors. You'll see the guys who've emailed us, we've shared our 5-year plan with investors and asked, hey, give me feedback, I wanna hear it. The second part is you're investing in a brand, and when you look out there, how many brands in this space are there, you're gonna realize there's not a lot of them. So if we make this work, which we will, it's gonna be amazing. The last question is, a lot of people ask about the exit, because that's ultimately what everyone's asking. There's so many possibilities out there: food service companies, supermarkets, e-commerce giants, private equity who wants to grow it. I mean, I'll tell you, I can't say the name, but there's a big restaurant chain which is huge in the meat industry. They got sold. The founder, who we met recently, sold 10 years ago for $600 million. 6 years later, it got sold for $1.5 billion. And right now it's getting sold again for $2 billion. The sheer size of the market in the United States, it's incredible. And for a company like ours that's playing in so many spaces, the potential is almost unlimited.
I want to say that we're still a young company, and ultimately, I think as an investor, if I was on the other side, it would be so cool to own a piece of like a company that has this growing path. That's awesome. And as a consumer, you're gonna be eating your own dog food in a way, right? Like you can try us, you can keep up with what we do and how we do it, and be part of it. Any shares that you buy and you are a customer, you're putting back into the business in a way. So ultimately, the growing path is there, and that's really what we're doing.
And by the way, as a corporate finance background, the whole crowdfunding thing was really hard for me to get my brain around. Like, honestly, a lot of it feels like sort of scammy in a way, which it isn't, but it can be. So I get it, right? I get it when a lot of people tell you, hey, why are you doing $12 million of sales and you're losing 500? And the answer is we're investing in growth. If we wanted, we could lean up the operation, get rid of some people, get rid of our growth, and we could make a 16, 20% EBITDA margins. But that's not the goal. The goal is to get this business to $50, $100, $150 million over the next few years.
If you like what you heard on the show today, you can check out why Meat and Bone scored a 3.4 out of 5 at kingscrowd.com. You can now invest on Start Engine until February 5th, 2025. And please like, subscribe, and share our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts so more listeners like you can find us. Thanks for listening.